Hello, dear friends. Welcome to this special cozy corner of the internet, where we journey back in time to the bedtime stories many of us grew up with. I am so glad you're here tonight. Close your eyes, if you'd like, or just get snug under your blankets. Tonight, we're diving into some nostalgic classics, gentle tales full of wonder, mischief, and heartwarming lessons that have lulled generations to sleep. These are the stories our parents or grandparents might have read to us. Simple, magical, and perfect for unwinding after a long day. Whether you're listening to fall asleep, relax, or share with little ones, let these timeless words wash over you like a soft dream. We'll enjoy 4 beloved stories tonight. The Tale of Peter Rabbit, Goldilocks, and the 3 Bears, The Ugly Duckling, and The Velveteen Rabbit. Breathe deeply, let go of the day. And let's begin. Story 1, The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank, underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along, and don't get into mischief. I'm going out." Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella, and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net, and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost, and shed big tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him, and rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently Peter sneezed. Curtishew! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all round. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze under. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go, along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end. Story 2. Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. Once upon a time, there were 3 bears who lived together in a little house in the woods. There was a great big father bear, a medium-sized mother bear, and a little baby bear. One morning, Mother Bear made porridge for breakfast and poured it into 3 bowls. A great big bowl for Father Bear, a medium-sized bowl for herself, and a little bowl for Baby Bear. The porridge was too hot to eat, so the 3 bears decided to go for a walk in the woods while it cooled. While they were out, a little girl named Goldilocks came wandering through the forest. She saw the little house and knocked on the door. No one answered, so she pushed the door open and went inside. There on the table were the 3 bowls of porridge. Goldilocks was hungry, so she tasted the porridge from the great big bowl. "Ouch, this is too hot," she said. Then she tasted the porridge from the medium-sized bowl. "This is too cold," she said. Finally, she tasted the porridge from the little bowl. "This is just right," and she ate it all up. After eating, Goldilocks felt tired. She saw 3 chairs in the room. She sat in the great big chair. "This is too hard." She sat in the medium-sized chair. "This is too soft." Then she sat in the little chair. "This is just right." But just as she settled in, the chair broke into pieces. Goldilocks went upstairs and found 3 beds. She lay on the great big bed. Too hard. The medium-sized bed. Too soft. The little bed. Just right, and she fell fast asleep. Soon, the 3 bears came home. "Someone's been eating my porridge," growled Father Bear in his great big voice. "Someone's been eating my porridge," said Mother Bear. "Someone's been eating my porridge, and it's all gone," cried Baby Bear in his little voice. Then they saw the chairs. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," growled Father Bear. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," said Mother Bear. "Someone's been sitting in my chair, and it's broken," cried Baby Bear. Upstairs, "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," growled Father Bear. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," said Mother Bear. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed, and there she is," cried Baby Bear. Goldilocks woke up, saw the 3 bears, and jumped out of bed. She ran down the stairs, out the door, and all the way home, never to return to the house of the 3 bears again. The end. Story 3. The Ugly Duckling by Hans Christian Andersen. It was summer in the countryside, and a mother duck sat on her nest, waiting for her eggs to hatch. Finally the eggs cracked open, and out came beautiful yellow ducklings. But the last egg was big and gray, and when it hatched, out came a large, awkward gray bird. "How ugly he is," said the other ducklings. Even the mother duck was surprised. The ugly duckling grew quickly, but everyone on the farm mocked him. The ducks bit him, the hens pecked him, and even the girl who fed the animals kicked him. Sad and lonely, the ugly duckling ran away. He wandered through the autumn fields and spent the winter in a cold marsh, nearly freezing. When spring came, he saw beautiful white birds flying overhead, swans, the most graceful creatures in the world. They would kill me if I went near them, he thought, for he felt so unworthy. But he was tired of hiding. He swam toward them, bowing his head, ready for the worst. When he looked into the water, he saw his reflection. He was no longer a clumsy gray bird, but a beautiful white swan. The other swans welcomed him warmly, stroking him with their beaks. Children on the shore cried, "Look at the new swan. He's the most beautiful of all." The swan, once called ugly, felt happier than he ever had. He had found his true family at last, and he lived gracefully ever after. The end. Story 4. The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. There was once a velveteen rabbit, and in the beginning he was really splendid. He was fat and bunchy, as a rabbit should be. His coat was spotted brown and white. He had real thread whiskers, and his ears were lined with pink sateen. On Christmas morning, he sat wedged in the top of the boy's stocking, with a sprig of holly between his paws. For a long time, he lived in the toy cupboard, or on the nursery floor, and no one thought much about him. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day, when they were lying side by side near the nursery fender before Nana came to tidy the room. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?" "Real isn't how you are made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. "When you are real, you don't mind being hurt." The boy loved the rabbit very much, and they had wonderful adventures together. The rabbit became shabby and worn, but the boy didn't care. Then one day, the boy became ill with scarlet fever. The rabbit stayed by his side, comforting him. When the boy recovered, the doctor said all his toys must be burned to disinfect the room. The rabbit was thrown into a sack to be burnt the next day. He lay there, sad and forgotten, a tear trickling down his shabby velvet nose. That night in the garden, a fairy appeared, the nursery magic fairy. She took the rabbit and kissed him, and suddenly his shabby coat became soft and shiny again. He grew ears and legs that could hop. "You were real to the boy," the fairy said, "because he loved you. Now you shall be real to everyone." And she carried him into the woods, where real rabbits danced under the moon. The Velveteen Rabbit joined them, and he was truly real at last. The end. There we are, my friends. 4 nostalgic tales to carry you gently into dreamland. I hope these classic stories brought back warm memories or created new ones for you tonight. If you enjoyed this cozy time together, please like this video, subscribe for more relaxing bedtime stories, and hit the bell so you never miss a peaceful evening with me. Share in the comments. What's your favorite nostalgic bedtime story from childhood? Thank you for spending this quiet time with me. Breathe deeply, let your body relax, and drift off to sweet, peaceful dreams. Good night, sleep well, until next time.